Welcome to the new season of the Amherst Weekly Report with Amherst Media. I'm Asia Reed.
And I'm Olivia Capriotti.
From Springfield straight to Hollywood seems like a stretch, but Massachusetts native Ruth Carter made this possible. The Oscar-winning costume designer spoke about her journey to UMass Amherst students this past Thursday. Alongside her were directors Spike Lee, Ryan Coogler, and Steven Spielberg. Her story of success began with failure when she was turned down an acting role at a Hampton University play. The director of the play asked her to instead be a costume designer. Designing allowed for her to draw, be creative, and act all at the same time. She even made history as the first Black costume designer to win an Oscar award for her work on Black Panther. Ruth went on to further her success and earned a star on the Walk of Fame for costume design. She credits her theater training to her hometown performing arts theater, Stage West. Even though she lives in Los Angeles, she still considers herself a Springfield resident.
Amherst school officials released a draft educational plan for the new elementary school building that will replace the Fort River and Wildwood schools. According to the plan given to the Amherst School Committee, the school will be over 100,000 square feet with 30 classrooms and space for special education, arts, and music programs. The new building will be able to hold 575 children from kindergarten through 5th grade. There are not any current cost estimates for the plan, but they will likely be released at the school committee's meeting on March 8th. If the plan does not go through, there is also a possibility that only Fort River Elementary would be replaced with a school for kindergarten through 5th graders, while Wildwood would remain in place. Either plan will result in the 6th graders at Crocker Farm School to move to the Amherst Regional Middle School in the fall of 2023.
The Emily Dickinson Museum recently received $600,000 as part of the museum's fundraising drive. John and Elizabeth Armstrong, former members of the museum's Board of Governors, made the donation that will be used to reconstruct the historic carriage house. The Armstrong's donation is the largest received among the museum's fundraising drive that seeks to raise $3.5 million in program and operating support. The carriage house will act as a welcome and orientation site for visitors while the restoration of the Dickinson homestead is underway and is expected to be completed by 2024. In addition to the carriage house, the museum will restore the evergreen as well as the property's landscape and gardens. The museum, while currently closed, is expected to open in the spring to a variety of 20th anniversary activities.
In May, a community responders program will be ready where unarmed employees will handle calls that don't involve violence or serious crime that police officers typically respond to. The director for the program will be hired no later than March 1st. Staff employees will be hired in March in addition to the director. After hiring, 2 months of training will follow that focus on de-escalation, mediation, first aid, CPR, clinical mental health, and social justice considerations.
Over the last 10 years, the Amherst Pelham schools have gone through over 17 new principals. This concerning turnover rate has prompted the district to create a qualitative study prepared by Rick Rogers. It will aid with identifying barriers and stressors that are contributing to school leaders not remaining in a long-term position. The purpose of the study is to also create recommendations for supporting current and new school leaders and to help with hiring and onboarding. The study does recognize that school leaders are under an immense amount of pressure in their position. The document says, quote, "We know that principals experience substantial job-related stress that can compromise their personal well-being as well as their leadership. School leaders often end up holding the feelings of stress or anxiety for those in their communities, contributing to their own overload." In a special report, Principals Under Pressure, writers conducted interviews with principals across the United States. They gathered that school leaders' biggest challenges involved safety, mental health, holding on to their best teachers, and maintaining a work-life balance. When interviewed, Amherst Pelham Regional Schools had similar answers. When asked why they think there was a high turnover rate, several themes emerged. Culture shock, resistance to change, pressure, and attacks were all reasons. This study suggests in order to make positive changes to attract more leaders, the steps in the suggested document must be followed.
UMass Music and Dance performed a musical tribute to the late Dr. Frederick C. Tillis this past Sunday. Dr. Tillis was a saxophonist and composer and the founder of the Jazz and African American Music Studies program at UMass Amherst. The tribute celebrated his musical legacy with a combination of jazz, classical, and sacred works that Tillis composed. One of his works, called "For the Victims and Survivors of September 11th, was narrated by Professor Amilcar Shabazz of the W.E. Du Bois Department of Afro-American Studies. Pamela Tillis also showed an excerpt from a documentary that she's creating about her father, who toured internationally as part of the Tillis-Holmes duo and the Trade Winds Jazz Ensemble. The Fine Arts Center Operations Manager Sean Conlon emphasized Dr. Tillis' impact on the campus community, saying, quote, "It's just really important that we carry the legacy of Fred forward and continue to honor the tradition of jazz music here at the university." And now here's Tyler Baraldi with this week's sports report.
Thanks, Olivia. While Amherst Weekly Report took a break for the winter, the world of college sports only got hotter as the race for playoff contention officially began. Starting with UMass men's basketball, the team currently stands at a middling 12-13, placing them 9th in the A-10 conference. Guard Noah Fernandez has been leading the team in scoring, steals, and assists thus far, sinking 14.5 points per game alongside 5.7 assists and 1.3 steals, while fellow guard Rich Kelly follows close behind with 13 points and 3 assists per game. Meanwhile, Trent Buttrick has carried the bulk of the rebounding load, averaging 6 boards and 11 points from the forward position. These three will have to be playing their absolute best for the remainder of the season, as UMass will hope to close out strong against Dayton tonight at 7 p.m. on the road before facing VCU, Fordham, and George Mason in the coming weeks. These games will be especially crucial, seeing that since the championship format's introduction in 2014, the lowest-ranked team to reach the finals was a 6 seed. We'll be sure to keep you posted on the Minutemen's status as the games progress. Moving on to UMass women's basketball, the team stands at a strong 21-6 record, placing them 4th in the A-10 standings. Forward Sam Breen has been leading the team's rebounding and scoring efforts, averaging a double-double with 16.8 points and 10 rebounds per game. Guard Sydney Taylor has been contributing her fair share on the scoring end as well, trailing close behind with 15 points per game, while fellow guard Destiny Philoxy tallies assists, averaging a team-high 5.6. The Minutewomen will need to finish their season strong to maintain their spot in the standings, as only 2 games remain. First against 3-seed VCU tonight at 7 in the Mullins Center, and next against St. Louis to finish their season on Saturday the 26th. What follows is the A-10 Championship Tournament, where we'll be reporting the action as it comes. While the Amherst College men's basketball squad found themselves facing a close loss in the NES-CAC quarterfinals against rival Williams, the women's team secured a dominant victory over Colby to send themselves to the NES-CAC semifinals against Tufts. Guard Danielle Zafiro led the team with 16 points on a highly efficient 6-for-7 shooting, while forward Danny Valdez helped contribute with 15 of her own to propel the Mammoths to a 30-point margin of victory. They'll next have to play Tufts on the road this Saturday at 4:30 as their hopes of bringing home gold for the first time since 2018 draw closer. For the men's team, they'll have to wait to see if they're selected to join the NCAA Division III tournament on February 28th. Closing out with UMass hockey, the team currently stands at a total record of 17-10-2, with a conference record of 12-6-2, placing them 2nd in the Hockey East standings and 10th overall. While this provides a less transparent picture of where postseason expectations should lie, championship potential assuredly remains. Forward Bobby Trevino leads the team in scoring with 16 goals on the season alongside 22 assists. Freshman Scott Morrow follows close behind with 10 goals and 17 assists in an impressive first year. Perhaps the team's greatest strength is its depth, with players such as Ryan Ufko, Garrett Waite, and Josh Lupina regularly contributing, among others, and the team will need these guys to continue to step up in the big moments as 4 games separate the Minutemen from the postseason. 2 series remain against UVM and BC, the results of which could have massive ramifications for playoff seeding. Vermont comes first, with both games taking place on the road as the Minutemen travel to Burlington at 7 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. After a 4-2 loss to UConn last Saturday, these Hockey East matchups will be crucial in setting UMass up to bring home gold in the postseason, with a ceiling as high as their skates can take them. Back to you, Olivia.
Thanks, Tyler. Thank you for tuning in to the Amherst Media Weekly Report. I'm Olivia Capriati.
And I'm Asia Reed. We'll see you again at the same time next week.